both of them represent each character. And the sort of ego and alter ego, or the id and the ego, that there is the two parts of each person's identity, the inside, the outside, the private, the public, that both Eunbi and Laura are each of these characters. And I'd love for you guys to talk about the two specific characters.
When I was 17, the first Murakami book I read was Norwegian Wood. And Norwegian Wood is a beautiful love story and coming-of-age story. But what really struck me was one of the supporting characters, Reiko, who dreamed of becoming a concert pianist. And she's telling the story from a mental hospital, so you know that something happened along the way and that dream was lost. And it's really compelling because Murakami wrote so beautifully and eloquently about her struggles, her background, her complete attachment to being a pianist as part of her identity, and how losing that is losing her sanity, basically. Losing yourself, losing your sanity, and being completely empty and trying to get it back, or in her case, she was trying to form a new identity. And I thought that was probably one of the most interesting stories and well-written stories that I've read about musicians, a pianist's struggle.
And so Mew is another pianist character who studies alone in Switzerland. And after living there on her own for a few days, she meets a man, and she has to go through a struggle of trying to attend these music festival concerts and practicing and dealing with this newfound, not really love interest, but this new part of her, which is strangely attracted to this man, but she doesn't want to admit it. And all of a sudden, when there's this sexual energy that starts to blossom and this distraction comes into our lives, we don't know how to deal with it. And so the way Mew deals with it is to literally separate herself into two halves. And this is a fine example of Haruki Murakami's writing, where you're left with so many questions. But it's a fascinating story for me because I feel like sometimes we do go through our lives in one part of our reality, and then we might look back at another version of ourselves and wonder, was that the same person, or was that a different part of me? And
a subversive writer and a subversive piece of theater. A subversive concert.